Well, joining me now is environmental campaigner Donica McCarthy, Just Stop Oil spokesperson Chloe Naldred, and the former England Test cricket legend Sir Geoffrey Boycott. So welcome to all of you. Well, let me start with Chloe Naldred. Chloe, even the people who are funding you, even the millionaires behind a lot of this stuff, they're sick of it. They're sick of the performative stuff, the attention-seeking, the wrecking of stuff that other people enjoy. They recognise none of it is turning anyone's opinion. They're as sick of it as I am. Why do you all keep doing this?
Well, thanks for having me on today, Piers. What you've just done, beautiful summary of the actions that we've been doing over the last year, of course, has looked a lot at how we protest, but you haven't mentioned a word about why. Why is it that a bunch of really ordinary, community-minded, law-abiding people are taking this kind of action? And the answer is because we're in a climate emergency and our government is not taking it seriously. This action at Lord's today isn't the biggest climate story of the day. The biggest climate story of the day is the fact that the government's own climate change committee, which is headed by the Conservative peer Lord Debon, has found that the government's net zero strategy is failing on every single one of its targets. That means they're not keeping us safe now, and they are not keeping us safe in the future.
You know what? Come on shows like this and debate that. I'll invite you on to have a proper debate about that.
Invite us on, Piers.
My message to you...
We'll come on any time, but the reality is the only way we get on is by doing these actions.
No, it's not the only way you get on. That's a complete myth. There have been regular debates on shows like mine that don't involve a reaction to the kind of ridiculous nonsense we saw today. The truth is, you've become a group of wreckers. You just like wrecking things for the sake of wrecking. Nobody is coming along to your cause because of these stupid stunts.
Piers.
We all think you're a bunch of puerile, spoilt brats who are just going out of their way to cause other people inconvenience and ruin their fun. That is the reality.
Well,
you might well have serious... Well, hang on, let me finish. You might well... Hang on. You might well have a serious point to make, or many serious points to make. I might well agree with some of those points. I probably do. But you know what? The more of these things you do are things that I enjoy and my friends enjoy and my family enjoys and other people with their friends and families enjoy, the more families that you stop in getting to work or getting their kids to school for important exams or getting to funerals or whatever it may be, the more you do that, the more we hate you. And the more we don't want to have anything to do with you or give you a platform to talk about the stuff that actually is more important, as you rightly say. Why don't you just stop the stupid stunts? Stop wrecking people's lives.
This won't stay in the news and it won't stay in the conversation. And perhaps what we're doing by interrupting the things that you need to do that are important to you, that you love, is we're making you think about everything that we're standing to lose.
No, you're not. You're making me think you're a bunch of morons.
Lord Debon said today...
You're not, Chloe.
Lord Debon said
Chloe,
today...
you're not making me think about your cause. Nobody at Lord's today was thinking, God, you know what? This is about climate change. We saw the orange powder, the whole crowd started booing. Unfortunately, England's wicketkeeper, Johnny Bairstow...
Are you going to let me talk?
Actually, no, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to go to Sir Geoffrey Boycott. Geoffrey, you're a cricket legend.
Yes.
You know, I remember back in the 70s, a pitch being dug up at Headingley, which wrecked a test match in a different kind of protest. But this series of attacks on stuff that most Britons just like watching, the snooker, the cricket, the Chelsea Flower Show, what do you make of it? Does it convince you that you should take this kind of thing seriously?
No, I watched it today and I just started laughing. I thought the England players did well, and with the Aussie batsmen, they made a barrier at one end for one of them, so they couldn't get through, and then the staff came on and grabbed him, one rugby tackled him. Johnny picked up the other one, and the orange powder, it actually went underground about 8 or 9, 10 yards away from the pitch.
Yeah.
So it didn't do any damage whatsoever. And I just laughed. I thought it was foolish. I just thought it was stupid.
There's a serious point to this, Geoffrey, which is that had they actually got to the wicket itself, you know, these wickets in a test match at Lord's on day one of a 5-day match, they're pretty sacred pieces of land, right? If they got there and begun to do actual damage to the wicket, sprayed their paint everywhere, actually it could have wrecked the entire test match.
Yes, and everybody's got tickets for tomorrow, Saturday, whatever day. All the refunding, their absolute few days at the cricket would be spoiled. That's what happened with the George Davies. That's what it was in '75. It was some people got in through the night. They didn't have security guards then or dogs, you know, through the night to stop that. And they dug up the pitch and they painted it. And it was all about freeing George Davis, who was in jail at the time. They supposedly thought he was wrongly put in jail. And when Tony Greig and Ian Chappell, the two captains, were walking up, come to the ground early because there's been a problem, Greggy was smart enough to say to Ian Chappell, can we cut a fresh pitch for you and we play on that? Chappell said, whoa, we're not stupid, because as you know, and any cricket lover knows, these pitches that they actually bat on are being prepared and rolled and made flat and pancake so that you get a fairly true bounce. If you play on a freshly mown pitch, the ball zips all over the place, and Australia would have lost.
So the
match was abandoned.
Yeah, that's right, it was. And the whole integrity of an international cricket match, say the Ashes like this, is reliant on the pitch and the integrity of that pitch. That's why it may look like a puerile stunt. Actually, if they got to where they were trying to get to, and who knows what they had planned for when they got on the wicket, they could have wrecked the Lord's Test match. And I come back again, Geoffrey, to this sense that I have, that the British public are not getting moved one iota to support this cause, the more that they do this kind of thing to stuff that we all enjoy.
Well, if they'd have got to the pitch and ruined it in some way, then there might have been hell on. They might not have got out of the ground in one piece. That's not to say that's right, but people would have been angry that the game was ruined and ruined for the next few days. I mean, this is an Ashes. There isn't anything bigger in cricket, and there isn't a ground better in the world than Lord's, the mecca of cricket. So it wouldn't have gone down well, and I felt at the time, that's why I laughed. I thought, this is silly. This is negative. This is not going to do you any good, because the people are across. They're going to be mad as hell if you ruin it.
I completely agree. Let me come to you then, Donegal. I've always felt you're a more reasonable talker about this kind of thing. I know you've had a long-time commitment to it. I want to read you again what Trevor Nielsen said to the Sunday Times at the weekend, because it was really interesting. He said, I absolutely believe this kind of thing's become now counterproductive. I just feel like it has to be said by somebody that was involved in the beginning of what it's become. This is going to require an immensely difficult navigation of the middle, and the activists are ostracising the exact people they need to engage. They're creating an excuse for people to stay on the sidelines. Blocking bridges is a lot easier than building bridges, and that is what we need to do if we're going to succeed. Now, I read that, and I thought, good on you. Good on you for not being intransigent. Good on you for recognising what I've been saying repeatedly, and others, which is it's not the cause itself that is causing all the friction and the problem. It is the methodology of forcing people to come along the road with this cause. And if you change the methodology, you might well bring more people with you. Do you accept that?
No, I don't, because what he's actually saying is contradicting what has happened in protest movements over the centuries. What has happened...
Tell me one movement that's involved systematic wrecking of things that British people enjoy doing.
I think if you take a step back and you look at the protests that dressed up all of them, they've been minor things.
They're not minor, though.
They are. 10 minutes with a bit of dust is minor. However, the really interesting thing about today's protest is what it brought attention to in the media. The media this afternoon is talking about who is sponsoring the cricket match today. It's JP Morgan. JP Morgan is the world's largest funder of fossil fuel destruction.
I've not heard anybody talking about JP Morgan.
It's in the BBC, it's in the Guardian.
Honestly, I was at Lord's until 6 o'clock. Nobody was talking about JP Morgan or any involvement they may have in fossil fuels.
It was in the media today, this afternoon.
Honestly, I've not seen a word.
Read the reports from the BBC, read the reports in the Guardian.
Nothing.
What they're talking about is JP Morgan is the world's largest bank. £454 billion invested in fossil fuels since Paris, and they're sponsoring today. So I think it's a really important... It reminds me of the rugby protest during the apartheid era. That's the same reaction. And people like you reacted to the rugby protest.
People like me. You don't know anything about what I thought about those protests.
People like you who are responding to this protest are responding the same way to the rugby protest.
I would have people like you on to debate the serious issues. Absolutely. We do that every night on this show. We had a big serious debate last night about racism in Britain, for example. The people involved in that debate haven't spent the last few months running around wrecking everything. They're not a wrecking machine. They want to have a debate which actually leads to proper change. That's what I would like to see with your cause. But Just Stop Oil. Everyone now associates Just Stop Oil with just a bunch of morons wrecking people's lives.
That's what people like you call them. I would actually call them heroes because...
What's heroic about running on a cricket pitch and chucking orange paint around?
The exact same thing was said about the rugby protests and the apartheid era. Let's remember what's happening with the cricket world. You talk about the sacredness of the sport and the sacredness of the cricket pitch. Look at the cricketing world. Caribbean destroyed by hurricanes, Pakistan destroyed by floods, India extreme heat. What those cricketers are doing today is taking their side on the wrong side. They're batting on the wrong side. The cricketers should have stood up and stood beside the Just Stop Oil.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
No funding for new fossil fuels.
Darren, this is where you lose me. There's a serious debate to be had about what's been going on in all those countries. I get it. I believe climate change is real. I believe it's dangerous. I believe in the core inherent essence of your protests, right? I just hate the methodology. And so I can tell you, do 99% of this country. They can't stand it.
And I can say back to you, I've been involved in this for 30 years. I spent 10 years local campaigning, 10 years in politics. Deputy Chair of the Liberal Democrats. Yeah. I've done campaigning, I've done petitions, I've done marches.
And now you're reduced to chucking paint around.
No, I haven't chucked paint around. But
you're supporting them.
I'm actually supporting because nothing else has worked. So please tell me, we've tried politics.
Actually, you say nothing else has worked.
What can work?
The UK has one of the best records in the world in measures to combat climate change. That is an irrefutable fact. And if you deny that, you are actually denying the very thing that you accuse other people of doing, which is reality.
There are two things. Britain is better than the world in most countries in reducing the carbon emissions of our electricity system. Everything else, we're disastrous. And the most important thing about Britain, which links to today's protest and JP Morgan Bank, is we're one of the largest funders of new fossil fuels globally.
OK, question for you. Why don't you go to China and India and Russia and pull these stunts there? Why is it only the safe places like the UK that Just Stop Oil chuck this stuff around at major sporting events and things that people love? Let me tell you why. Because there's a moral cowardice at the heart of what you do. It's a bit like Greta Thunberg. Greta Thunberg, you never see her in Beijing ranting away about the Chinese government. Even though the worst polluters in the world are the Chinese. So the people causing the real damage on pollution, none of your protesters have the gumption or the moral guts to go and wreck the lives of those people in those countries because you know what would happen. You pick on the easy places who are doing the most to try and combat it.
Hang on,
and in the process, you piss off the entire country. I don't get the strategy.
Do you accept the point that Britain is responsible for 15% of new funding of fossil fuels globally? And secondly, we're responsible for over 50%
I tell you what I do accept.
I'll tell you what I do. Is that true or not?
Here's what I accept.
Do you accept that's true?
Here's what I accept. I'm not going to quibble individual stats because I haven't got the information.
Really important stats.
Hang on. I haven't got that information in front of me. What I would say is, as a broad brushstroke, it is undeniable that the UK is doing more than most countries in the world who are of the prosperous countries, is doing more to combat climate change than most others. That is a fact.
What I'm agreeing with you is that we're doing more on our electricity, our own 1%. But the City of London and all corporations are funding 50%
here's my advice.
Of global emissions.
Here's my advice.
So we have to protest.
Here's my advice. No, you don't.
It's a centre of the fossil fuel economy.
Come on shows like this and make your argument. Don't go and wreck people's lives.
Can you please invite us on with Morgan and Barclays and Shell?
All right, let me go to the final word to Sir Geoffrey Boycott, if you're still there, Geoffrey. I want to lighten the load, Geoffrey, and just ask you, are we going to win the Ashes?
No. I don't think so. I think we should have won. We should have won at Edgbaston. We win the game for 90% of the time, yet we lost it. That's silly. That is silly, and that's enough to cry. You know, when you're winning a game 90% of the time and you lose, Australia are a good team.
All right, here's what I'm going to do, Geoffrey. Will you accept a £100 bet because I say England will win the Ashes?
I only bet when I'm batting.
So, Geoffrey, it's a great honour and pleasure to have you on the show. I think it's your first appearance on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Please come back again. I miss you on the airwaves. Still a legend, still as sharp as ever. Great to see you. And thank you to my two Just Stop Oil contributors.